9 defeats in their last 12 matches for the Premier League champions as they lose to PSV by 4-1. Jurgen, this is unbelievable considering a side that came in, brought in those new faces. It looked like Arne Slot couldn't do anything wrong. Now, he can't do anything right.
That's how fast it can go in football nowadays. Because, you know, even if you were super successful last season, doesn't mean you're going to be as successful in the next season. There's a lot to it. Obviously, we don't see the inside of the dressing room, what's going on in the locker room there in Liverpool. But obviously, right now they're in a mental hole. You know, they are as a team, they're just vulnerable. They look fragile. They look scared going into one-against-one challenges, which is always the foundation of the game. And they're looking at each other and hoping that one of these guys, you know, will pull them out there. But it's a collective effort that needs to happen within that group of players. Obviously, there are some leaders. You know, Van Dijk is obviously the leader. But it's going to be very, very difficult over the next couple of weeks to turn it around and climb back up in the table of the league in the Premier League, and also to stay competitive in the Champions League.
Is it a borderline crisis, or is it a crisis?
It's a crisis. Yeah, it's absolute crisis.
There's a man in Philadelphia having his Thanksgiving. Scottish guy, actually, and he won't be having a very good
Mr.
one.
Nicol will not have enjoyed
tomorrow
that.
after this. Look, when you have players come into a club like Liverpool have in the summer, some of them are superstars like Wirtz and Isak, and they were huge money record transfers. So you expect a bit more from them. Okay, sometimes it needs a little bit of time. But when others come in, like Frimpong, who has been injured, and Kerkez, what you need is, when you're having a bit of a tough time, as these guys are, what you need for any club when you go there is your experienced players to put their arm around you and take the game by the scruff of the neck and lead. And what these players are having is a tough time. But the leaders that led for Liverpool and performed the best for Liverpool, the McAllisters, the Gravenberch, the Konatés, the Van Dijks, you can just add them onto the list that are all struggling.
Yeah.
And the Liverpool captain, and I keep saying this, is for all the mistakes Konaté makes, his mistakes are obvious ones. Van Dijk's are less obvious, I think, to a lot of people, but to us watching it sometimes, you think, what's he doing there? Why is he doing that? Why is he taking that position? And I saw him do it for... I saw him play particularly badly defensively for Holland and Warsaw as well. So it's not just a Liverpool thing. He's struggling. And when your experienced players are struggling, then it's very difficult for the younger guys that are making big moves. I mean, Kerkez is an international player, plays for Hungary, right? But he's still a young guy, and he made a big move from Bournemouth to Liverpool, to the champions. That can be daunting for a lot of people, and you really want your back four to be, and your teammates to be bailing you out and helping you. He's not getting that. They're all struggling. And it's difficult to see where Liverpool are going to arrest this slide.
Yeah.
It really is. I think Ekitike might have went off injured as well. We know Isak's had some injury issues. We know Salah's been ineffective. We know Wirtz has been ineffective and injured. And we highlighted all the other problems. They've got, on paper, they have a bit of an easy run domestically. But is there any easy run for Liverpool at the moment, Robbo?
Their confidence is so low now. And this is when you find out about your players. Not when they're winning games, not when they're winning the title. This is when you find out the good characters, the players that are willing to get on the ball still, the players that are willing to defend with urgency, the players that make good decisions, the players that get round the other players. Come on, we've got to do this, whatever it is, you know, and sort of take it away from the manager slightly and take it back to the players. Because at the moment, I don't see that. And the one, and you just mentioned him, Virgil van Dijk's performances recently, in my view, have been shocking. Even when that run happened, he still said to Konaté, you should be coming across to block the run. He was miles away. He couldn't deal with that. So he's looking at other players all the time. And that's not the way a leader should be. So they've got major problems. And until they get a couple of results, the confidence will be drained further and further away from them.
But even Man City last year, when they fell off that cliff as champions, and they'd been champions for, 4 out of 5 years? Mm-hmm. So you could kind of understand, in a sense, that drive sometimes is difficult to go again. And they had the injuries, they lost Rodri, and they had some key injuries, and they didn't really beef the squad up in the summer. The surprise here for Liverpool is that they were so dominant last year, particularly in the first 6 or 7 months of the season, that the manager looked as if he had a handle on everything. And then they spent in the summer. They really beefed up the squad. They went out and they bought on the face of it, they bought really good players. They bought some of the best players around Europe and England in their positions, and you thought, right, we all said it, Community Shield against Palace. We went, right, this is going to be interesting. Liverpool are going to pitch up at Wembley, big pitch, going to play Palace off the field, send a statement to the Premier League, and everybody else will be chasing their tail. And even from that day, 1 week before the start of the Premier League season, it was patently obvious that there was a lot of work needed to be done on the training ground. We saw the gaps that day between Kerkez and Van Dijk, and Palace really took advantage of it. But you thought, no, Liverpool will fix it. Too many good players, they've got a good manager, they'll fix it. Where are we? We're not that far off of Christmas. And he has no idea what the solution is to the issues that they have, and that is a huge worry for them.
Jurgen, take me into Arne Slot tomorrow at training. You've got West Ham at the weekend. How do you build this group's confidence up once again? How do you try and re-establish some sort of winning formula, considering what has passed over the last couple of months?
Well, that is the difficult task for every manager when you are in a negative spiral, and they are in a negative spiral right now. How to stop that and how to turn it around. You know, do you look deep into your roster, you look deep into your individual players, and you try to figure out why are they not performing at their usual level? Why do they not get the things right? You know, there are different ways. Obviously, some coaches, they go back on the training pitch and they overwork them on the pitch. Some say, you know, let's do less work on the pitch. Maybe just let's go out to the pub and have a couple of beers and get the spirit back. You know, it's a mental problem. It's a mental blockage that they have right now. That leads to the fact that they lose these one-against-one battles. They're always a step too late getting into these challenges, and they are not convinced of finishing things off. And maybe now they are all thinking, you know, oh, maybe we did it on big transfers in the summer window, and we have too many of those so-called future superstars in our roster, because at the end of the day, only 11 can play. So you have definitely 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on your bench that are used to always play, you know, and when they're on the bench, then they're not happy. So, you know, when things go well, everybody's quiet, you know, everybody's all right, you know, and nobody says a bad word. But when things go wrong, then you know, behind the scenes, you know, people talk to each other, players talk to each other, and that's what you have to stop now, this negative spiral. You got to somehow stop it, and I'm sure that he will try to do everything possible in his hands. And then you can come back only over wins, you know, and probably over a far more physical approach than they did recently, because they need to fight first and then play wonderful football.
Now you had a little giggle there when Jurgen said maybe go to the pub and have a few pints, and I know you were, you know, as something sometimes people just have a laugh about, but I'm being serious now. That, you know, people might think, well, that was something that was done 20 years ago and 30 years ago, and it certainly was. But do you know what? Sometimes it's more, as Jurgen said, sometimes it's more than just dragging players onto the training field and slogging them to death about all the mistakes. And sometimes it is as simple sometimes as that camaraderie. And I know people laugh about it. You think, oh, you go out in a bonding session, you have a bit. But sometimes players need that. There's a pressure. There's a pressure, and when you're under that pressure, you need everybody to be together. And sometimes it's not the double session on the training field and every day. Sometimes it is, you know, going for dinner and a few beers and chilling and chatting and talking about the problems and how you're going to solve it and getting those relationships again. Something to spark it, because whatever they're doing at the moment is not working. And you know, we do laugh about these things, but if you don't have the bonding and the dressing room and the camaraderie, you're screwed from the start. And Liverpool have to find something, whatever it is.
Jurgen suggested something, I think he's absolutely right. Liverpool won the title last year, and the players were very pleased with themselves. You know, we've won the title, and then they go and buy 4 or 5 players. And they think, hang on, why we won the title, why are you buying him? So the player that he replaces is now a little bit unhappy, and the player that comes in at centre-forward, you know, the centre-forward that goes out, he's a bit unhappy as well, and they let 1 or 2 go. And there's a bit of jealousy that comes in.
Do you think so, Robert? Is it not a sense of this is going to make us stronger and better?
I've seen it happen many, many times when you buy... When Liverpool were at their very best, many, many years ago, they had the best team. They'd buy 1 player that they might just improve. And he probably had to stay on the outside for 6 or 7 weeks before he got in the team. When you go and buy 4 or 5, it probably messes up the spirit of the team. The Van Dijks and the Salahs, well, why are we buying him? You know, we did so well last year. We had a great team spirit. This is going to spoil everything. And they will probably be blaming the new players. It's just not working.
But there weren't many new players on the pitch today.
No,
that's
but by now the confidence is all gone. The animosity's there, maybe. The team spirit's gone downhill a little bit.
So when do we start opening the door to the conversation that he needs to go?
If you don't start seeing an improvement at some point, the manager is under pressure. Of course he is.
The thing is, well, we looked at the upcoming games, didn't we? West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds.
Well, and there's many managers that have won the title once. Think of Ranieri. Won the title with Leicester. You think, what a great job. Halfway through the next season, he's gone because the expectations are even higher.
I think Liverpool have a little bit more confidence in this guy than that, for sure. However, at the end of the day, it is all about results. He can just thank his lucky stars that they had this season last year, because had he come in and, you know, they'd finished in the top 4 and no better and got knocked out of every other competition, which they did, got knocked out the FA Cup to Plymouth when he made all those changes, which was really unnecessary, but that was his decision. If he didn't have that in the bank, I think he'd have been teetering.
You have to look at his old club. For years, Ancelotti won the title. The next season it was gone. You know, there was, I think the Brazilian, won the title. The next year, Mourinho won the title. He was gone the next year if they don't get results. Any manager that loses 7 out of 8 games or whatever it is going to be under pressure.
But I think he's at a club that are not historically known for making snap decisions. Certainly not. You know, if you look back over the years, they've not really been a club, Liverpool. And I'm not suggesting we're at that stage.
No.
Well, no. But they're definitely struggling. There's no. I mean, if we go into the new year and they're sitting 14th in the league or something like that, of course he's going to be under pressure to save his job because more questions will be asked. But the one thing certainly with Liverpool, and there are other clubs like it, but some clubs are very reactive. Liverpool historically haven't tended to be a reactive club. They've generally given their managers a bit of time to try and address the situation. And if a manager can't address it, like, you know, Roy Hodgson or Brendan Rodgers or whoever it was, eventually they'll fire him. So I think he's got a fair amount of time left, but somehow he has to be able to turn this ship around because it's sinking fast.